Come in. Oh,
Hello, Joseph, is it?
hi, Dr. Zapata. Yes, Joe. How are you?
I'm well. What seems to be the problem, Joe?
Well, I'm having difficulty drawing from imagination.
Oh, Joseph, just so you know, that's totally normal. Why don't you tell me a little more about your problem? Is it that you can only draw from imagination if you're completely alone?
Doc, I can't ever draw from imagination.
What about if you're completely relaxed?
When I'm totally relaxed, I can't imagine a thing.
I see. Joseph, it's important to know that even with severe cases like this, there's always hope. I can prescribe an experimental therapy called Form from Imagination.
Form from imagination?
It's early days, but clinical trials are extremely promising. Why don't you try this for 6 months and then check back in with me?
Okay, I'll do whatever it takes. Did you just draw this?
Oh yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. Hey, Doc, do you ever have trouble drawing from imagination?
Oh no.
You wouldn't. I mean, you drew this.
That's right.
Wow.
Form from Imagination is an experimental therapy and is not yet approved for use by the FDA. Do not use Form from Imagination if you are already taking any prescriptions for drawing from reference, working side size, or tracing photos you didn't even take. Stop taking Form from Imagination if you experience any of these side effects: loss of interest in your personal projects, megalomaniacal self-confidence, hallucinations unless they're the kind you're hoping for, drawing better than Steven Zapata, or feelings that purchasing the course was enough and you don't really need to do the exercises. Call your doctor if you have stiff gestures, flat forms, or boring ideas to address a possible life-threatening condition. Full sketchbooks have been reported with Form from Imagination and medicines like it. Other risks include long-term art careers, too many clients, and being worth more than you're charging for. Call your doctor today and ask about Form from Imagination. Hello everyone, my name is Steven Zapata, greatest living draftsman, and I've got a new course out, Design Fundamentals. It's meant to help you understand design on a comprehensive and principled level and show you how to run projects that build skills and contribute to a portfolio. Maybe you want to be a concept artist, an illustrator, a fine artist, or just the most badass hobbyist on your block. Whatever you want to do with art, if you ever want to do anything vaguely original, you need to understand design. You need a process and a mental framework for getting to something new rather than just copying what you've seen before or photos of stuff that already exists. If you do want to improve at design, that process, that mental framework, it does exist. It's based on the principles of design, and I've spent the past year, wait, is it more than a year? Oh my God, this took forever. I've spent the past whatever putting this course together, full of my insights into the elements of art and the principles of design. Across 10 assignments in this course, you will be concepting your own imagined video game. You'll come up with the overall idea, you'll pick a theme, you'll write a treatment, and you'll design assets that give you a chance to practice all these new concepts. And at the end, all of these individual assignments come together into a cohesive final image. When I designed this syllabus, I wanted to make the course I wish I had taken back in my first year of school. And I did. If I was asked to teach Design 1 at Art Center today, I would just play these videos as my lectures, and this is the same cohesive, practical, fun assignment I would make the students do all semester. Also, just like a college course, everyone gets my feedback on all 10 assignments. In the exclusive course community, you can post your work to get feedback from me and your peers, and there's even a video workroom that's always open so you can hang out together while you work. So if you're interested, go to zapatacourses.com/designfundamentals and check it out. And I will see you on the other side of the mystical gateway of design. Hello, hello. Let's see. Is my microphone in my way? You know you haven't streamed in a while when you go to bend your microphone down to you and it's covered in cobwebs, actual spider cobwebs. That lets you know. And am I loud enough? And testing my drawing position, am I loud enough? I look loud enough. Y'all let me know if I am loud enough. Hello to Disc Breaker, Engine Ken Ure, Hera Rosa, Roxiel, and Mizubi Art. Hey Mizubi, how you doing? What is up? Let me put this over here. Good to stream, good to stream. How's everybody been? I went and visited my family in Florida for a while, and then I was going to stream a lot this past week when I got back, but my wife's eardrum ruptured and completely ruined our week. So I was on double duty taking care of her and the baby, so I did not wind up streaming as much as I wanted to this week, which I did want to because it is the last week of the sale. Just to remind everybody, you have until July 6th for the biggest sale ever on my courses. You saw the promos at the top, but just a reminder to those who haven't heard, Design Fundamentals and Form from Imagination, both on my site and on Proko, where the non-feedback version of Form from Imagination is, all versions are 20% off, as well as the smaller tutorials, my older, smaller tutorials that are on Proko. All 20% off until July 6th. Great time to get them. The astute viewer will know that there is no time limit on the feedback for the feedback versions of my courses. So the feedback version of Form from Imagination and Design Fundamentals, there is no time limit. So it is a great idea to pick them up on sale and then sit on them until you're ready to submit assignments, because I do feedback just ongoing all the time. So whenever you're ready, you just start and you're good to go. It is burning hot in New York. Burning hot. Hello, Lauren Lopez. Hello, Jamilin. Hello, Jensen. Hello to Miserable Mondays, Naokioki, and Layla Wahab. What's up? You're loud enough, thank you. Mizubi is painting on plexiglass. Interesting. Hope she's doing better. She is on the mend now, but it is a devastating thing to have happen, and the healing time is very long. Let me make myself a little bigger while I talk here for a little bit. Let's also thank some patrons who have signed up since the last stream. I don't think I streamed since my... Oh, I did stream when I got back from Florida, actually. Missed that. My last stream was on the 24th. Right. That makes sense. So since then, who has signed up? I want to give a big thanks to Alisa Chip Leonard, to Kostandid Kokaki. That's a tough one to pronounce. Konstantin Kokaki. I hope I'm getting that vaguely right. And Rakan Mog, thank you so much for signing up for the Patreon, putting your money where your mouth is, and supporting this stream. Again, a big thank you to Rakan Mog, to Kostandin Kokaki, and to Alisa Chip Leonard. Thank you so much for signing up for the Patreon. When you sign up for the Patreon, you get access to tons of goodies. You get into the Discord community, where people are always drawing together, talking together, ranting together. Discord's very active these days. People constantly talking in there. building up a big community there. You sign up once, you don't get kicked out of the Discord when you stop contributing to the Patreon. You're just in it. And you also get a backlog of tons of old exclusive audio and sketches and stuff like that are in the Patreon. The Patreon is years old now. There's a lot of stuff on there that I don't even remember what it is, but it's nowhere else. You know, there's been various Q&As that are not posted to the YouTube, weird little audio recordings that I just did, went out for walks and things like that, musings like that. There's a couple very focused things on there. Like I started a series on there a while ago about the intuitive myths and things like that I do plan on spiraling out into something bigger. But there's 2 of those on there that you can only find them on the Patreon, and you won't be able to hear something like that until I spiral them out into something bigger anywhere but the Patreon. And right now, the biggest exclusive the Patreon has is my secret podcast with the comic book artist Stephen Green. That's the only place that you can hear it. We have 3 episodes up on there so far. The takes are too hot to be public currently. Every time we finish one, we're like, can we publish this? And we go, no, no, not yet. But on the Patreon, you can watch them. And we just recorded the 4th earlier this week, but I haven't been able to edit it yet. Or last week we recorded the 4th episode, but I haven't been able to edit it yet because of the health stuff going around in my house. But I will edit it very soon and post it. Oh, hello Dubadu. Hello to Bendik. Hello to Shosaki Saki, who says, hello, first time in an S Zapata stream. Welcome. Welcome. How lucky are you? How lucky are you? What am I doing today? I am practicing what I preach. I always say, do your studies based on something you need to solve for your own creative work. And that is what I'm doing. I know the sketch in the thumbnail is basically unintelligible, unreadable, but I know what it is. It's for a Paradise Lost piece of Satan presiding over the Infernal Council in Pandemonium. And I've done a lot of sketches for that scene. It's taking a long time to figure out exactly what I want it to feel like. That's a little crop of a huge compositional sketch. But I found, I'm not 100% sold, but I think I want him sitting on his throne. Not a given. I have some sketches that have him sort of on a standing throne, which is a weird idea that I like. But the sitting poses were not pleasing me that I was doing, so I'm doing some studies from a photo pack of seated poses to get some insight, to touch ground truth reality on that, and to inform further imaginative sketches. I don't think I'm in focus. Am I in focus here? I think it'll be a quiet day on stream today. I think everybody's holidaying today, at least here in the United States. Most people are off today. My family's off at the beach right now. enjoying the Friday off. They were like, Steven, won't you come with us? Please spend time with us. My son was like, Father, please, I long to see you. I said, no, you have off because you have normal jobs, but not I. The people need me. My fellow artists need me. You must go. I must stay home and stream. My son was like, you would forsake me for your drawings of Satan, Daddy. Yes, my son. I am proud of this and I would do it again. Bendick says, oh, so you have the day off before the 4th of July? Yeah, because in the United States, you know, if a big federal holiday lands on a weekend, they give you the day, like the day before, the weekday before off instead. I've been drawing a lot lately. I'm working on a big YouTube video, doing some new stuff for it. I'm excited for you all to see it. Probably another, a little more than a week, I think. That's my current guess. But I've been having a great time working on it. Great time. I don't know if I'll study this guy's actual face from the reference. I might just try to turn him into my Satan. Is your son living in the 50s? Yeah, generally. What can I say? He was just born and he was just set to the 50s. I don't know what else to tell you. It's not up to me. It's the way it is. Omar, hi buddy. Omar says something that's not going to annoy me at all. I didn't see a word that immediately triggered me. Let's see what Omar has to say. Hi, Stephen. Happy 4th of July weekend. Do you think that the founding fathers ever expected our great nation to have such a magnificent zoetrope in the works 250 years later? No. I have to say that amongst all my conflicting feelings, I am certain that they could not have expected that. They could not have expected that. Saadart says, hey, big fan of you, Stephen. Thank you so much, Saadart. I appreciate that. Did witnessing a human growing in front of you give you any new nuanced understanding of human anatomy? Nuanced? Let's see. I don't know if it taught me Well, babies are very squishy, you know. I don't know if it taught me any like hard anatomy, but the particulars of the baby proportion were something that I never really had reason to learn and to understand. And they're tricky, you know. You see in a lot of like old paintings and stuff like that, people really struggle with babies. They just look like little adults. So I was always interested in like, oh, well, I'd like to actually understand it a little better. But you kind of need a reason to really go into that. And definitely having a baby made that simple. Now I feel like I get the baby proportion much more. I'm just much more intuitively familiar with it. It's the same thing with like toddlers and kids. They have a very particular proportion that unless you have a reason to learn it, it's very difficult to learn. In my life, I did wind up having a reason. I worked in theme park design for many years. And when you work in theme park design, you have to put a lot of kids in your drawings. So even though that was so not my thing ever, I mean, you guys see the kind of stuff I draw. I want to draw devils and demons and stuff like that. That's what naturally comes out of me. Happy little kids is not naturally what comes out of me, but enough years of doing that and needing to learn it, I did eventually become a kid drawing master. Well, maybe not a generalized kid drawing master. I would say I became very specifically a master of drawing happy kids pointing at things, being excited, and climbing on things. That was what I mastered. I could do that. I could do that from my head with no reference, from all sorts of angles, and have it look like an actual kid instead of a tiny adult. And I'm not quite at that level yet with babies, but I definitely have a foundation now. You know, the thing with an actual baby that is your baby is that it's like when I was working in theme parks, I had years to figure kids out, and kids of a very specific range. But your baby, I mean, they develop so fast, it feels like. It's like they only stay in a particular developmental stage for a couple months, and then after a couple months, it's like they've changed a lot. Their proportions have changed, their standard poses and positions have changed, what they're doing changes. So you don't really have that much time to master any particular phase with your kid. Louis says, hi, Steven. Thoughts on Sergio Topi? He's awesome. I've never like read one of his comics or graphic novels, but I've looked at a lot of his work. He's dope. I mean, but everyone knows that. Who's gonna say Sergio Topi sucks? Raku Kuku says, oh, Steven, how would I procure some of this anatomy wisdom of yours for my sketches? Oh, you just need to practice a lot. I mean, you need to draw a lot, and you don't have to do this, but for me personally, if you're trying to get to my level of wisdom, you do need to like study anatomy. You need a period where you study it. I studied it once you become a student of anatomy, you're always a student of anatomy, because once you have the foundation, then just as you go through life, every figure you look at, you can kind of understand it and learn more nuance. But I did my initial in-depth study over like a very concentrated period of like 2 years. There was tails in and tails out. There was like a period where I studied it on my own to get a good foundation for when I had a teacher. So I went very deep on my own, and then I got hooked up with my teacher, Ray Bustos, famous anatomist Ray Bustos. I took 2 semesters of classes with him, and then I was his teacher's assistant for about a year after. And when I was his TA, I did all of my TA responsibilities, and then during class, I would like retake the class. I would just, even though I'd already done all the material once, I would sit and listen to his lectures as if I was a student taking it the first time, and I would ask, more nuanced questions and things like that. And when the students would draw, I'd sit with them and do the draw from the live model and do the same focus that week and all that. So very intense period of anatomical study. And then lots of life drawing. Never stopped life drawing. I don't know. I mean, it's for me, it's been my life. It's, this is my life's work. This is my life's calling. And I've done it my whole life. I do it basically every day, at least every day that I'm doing any kind of work at all. It's just constant engagement with this thing. It's not for everybody, but it is for me. It is for me. That's just the way it goes when you work for the art demon. Like I was saying before, my family's off at the beach enjoying the day off, but I don't have a normal job. I work for the art demon, and she demands a lot. I'm in a senior position at Art Demon Industries, so I have a lot of responsibilities. Lot of responsibilities. Mizubi says there's also medical museums. Yeah, they're a great place to study. Ray took us to quite a few medical exhibits in his classes. And even like back in high school, my art teacher, a man named Leonard Antonori, who I feel very lucky to have had at the high school level, he had us go to like the traveling bodies exhibit and draw there to introduce us to anatomy. But yeah, Ray took us to medical exhibits, and he also got us access to cadavers at a medical school. So we got to do anatomical studies from preserved flayed cadavers like med students get to do. And that has stayed with me my whole life, that's for sure. And again, that's something I got to do multiple times because I did it in the classes that I had with him, but then I also got to go again when I was the teacher's assistant for those classes. No ritual, no blood sacrifice, no nothing. I mean, drawing a cadaver, a real person's preserved body, feels a lot like some sort of macabre ritual. So if you can get that going, it's worth doing. I mean, the intense, humbling respect you will feel in that space will feel very sacred. If you've got anything like the true artist spirit, you will feel a sacredness in that environment. Indago says, "Hi, Stephen. I've purchased your Form from Imagination course and was wondering if you're still active as an instructor there. I noticed you haven't commented on submissions in a while." I think you mean you purchased it on Proko. On Proko, I don't do active feedback on Proko. I do have plans to, in the future, take a bunch of those submissions and use them to make like a couple common mistakes videos. But I don't do active feedback. I only do feedback on the feedback version of Form from Imagination, which is on my website, not on Proko. And that I'm doing feedback constantly. That I haven't stopped doing. I haven't stopped doing feedback on that since early 2022, when the course came out. If you're interested in that, Proko does do returns if you would prefer the feedback version. So I think you could try to return it on Proko and then go get the feedback version on my website. And then that'll get you into the exclusive feedback community. And then you'll get more of me as an instructor than you can shake a stick at. Indigo says, "Wish I would have known that," shaking my head. Yeah, like I said, if you got on Proko, you can return it. Then go get the other version. Yeah, Proko has no setup system because it's actually quite complicated to get that. Having done it myself, it is actually quite a thing to sort of get a reliable, controllable system set up for feedback for teachers. So Proko doesn't have that yet. They don't have any way to sort of like set up for guaranteed feedback from instructors for people who have opted into that, who have paid for that. But I think they're working on it. I remember talking to them once and they said they were looking at ways to do that. Hello, Reverse FX. Suplex Mess says, better work for the art demons than the AI mimes? Definitely. You fucking kidding me? Absolutely. I mean, I've just got nothing to do with that. I don't use AI for anything. And I don't understand people who are, I don't know. I got nothing in common with people who want to use AI for art things. That's what I've come to realize. I've just got nothing in common with them. I'm just going to be over here peacefully doing it my way. Thanks. Thanks. Nicholas says, how did you manage your time back when you were studying art? I mean, balancing time for specific assignments with drawing in your free time. I'm still studying art. I mean, it's not like that time is behind me. And different eras in your life call for different kinds of balance. So in my early years, and especially my college years, I would say there was no balance. There was zero balance. I was white knuckling it. Completely white knuckling it. I've gone through life white knuckling the moments that left me behind, refusing to heed the yield. I penetrate the force fields in the blind. They say I'll adjust, God knows I must, but I'm not sure how. Yeah, no life balance. I dedicated an unconscionable amount of time to my schoolwork and an unconscionable amount of time to my personal work. Just crazy. Now my balance is different. You know, now I'm a dad. I can't be so reckless with my body and with my spirit, so I'm more aggressive about balance. I basically, you know, I try to keep things on a clock. I do my 7-ish hours a day, and then I stop, you know. I stop and I take care of my son, maintain my social relationships as much as I can. Help my wife, you know. Because it's easy with art to just like let it colonize every moment of your time. Especially with the classic artist temperament where we're just like very scattered and dubiously productive. It's like, it's very easy to let, you know, 3 hours of real work spread out into 10 hours. Any artist knows that experience. Bendick says, would you suggest finishing watching your whole design course before starting the assignments? Yes. Watch all of Elements of Art, watch all of Design Fundamentals, take notes as you watch them. That's how I intended it. You're supposed to hear all of those concepts, introduce them into your life, and then start doing the assignments. And then probably it would be a good idea to re-listen as you work on your assignments as well. Because of course the idea is that I want you to have those things in mind, to have whatever eurekas are low-hanging fruit from hearing all of that stuff. And then you want to try to incorporate all of that as you do your assignments right from the beginning, right? That's the tough thing about design. It's like, if you're really designing, it's tough to add on base concepts about like the elements and the principles as you go. It's like you really do want them all there from the beginning so that you can focus on specific design problems layered on top of that. That's what you're adding on in the practical. Design considerations, and design is always specific. So, yes. Long answer short, do the long answer short, do the watch elements and principles first, and then start the assignments. Naro says, any thoughts on the modern rise of power violence in do-it-yourself scenes in the States? I have to admit that went completely over my head. I have no idea what you're talking about. So no thoughts. No thoughts, since I have no idea what you're talking about. Mizubi says, who would you recommend design fundamentals to? Anyone who thinks they need to engage design, you know? And really anyone whose drawing does engage design, but certainly there's certain practices that need it less than others. You know, if you're going to be like a, I mean, let's just be straight up. Let's say your intention is to be a portrait artist. You know that's what you want to do. You still need to understand design, but less of it. You don't need to know as much design as someone who's trying to, you know, design cars or work in entertainment or tell stories, complex stories, things like that. But anyone else, I mean, if you need design, you know it. You know, if you want to do a comic book, a graphic novel, if you want to work as a concept artist, certainly anything story heavy, a lot of narrative design and things like that, you need design. You know it. If you need design, you know it. Imaginative illustrators and things like that. Basically anything where you want to make a lot of stuff up, you need design, you know. All right, let's look for a... Let's not spend forever on this one study. Let's look for another photo. I have a few photos picked here, but I might go through the pack and pick another one too. Leela says, highly recommend the design course. Thank you, Leela. I'm glad you like it. Engine says, Stephen, what is your thought process of studying and applying it on an image later? Is it more subconscious, meaning trying your best to draw the study to get a feeling, or consciously remembering things? I think it's mostly unconscious for me. It could be very conscious. I mean, you could literally, let's say you did this study and you just thought, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need to do. You could just take a picture of it, Photoshop it into, like, just literally copy paste this drawing into your overall composition. And then when you do your transfer, your blow up or whatever, you just work directly on top of that. You could do it very directly like that. But for me, I like to get insight and then go back to raw imagination. But that's because of my own personal philosophy and my preferences. You know, you don't have to work that way. You know, the old masters, for example, were trying to be as direct as possible. A lot of the old masters, if they'd had cameras and things like that, they would have just taken a good photo of their model, comped it into place, and traced it, basically. I think a lot of the old masters wouldn't have had a problem with that. You know, they would have, I'm sure they still would have been smart enough to go for like, they would have known that a photo would not give them the perfect version of their design intent. The old masters were very focused on design intent because they were telling stories. But I bet they would have done that, a lot of them. Let Me Chill says, do you have a Discord server? Through my Patreon, yes. You can find the Patreon in the video description. But yeah, if you support on Patreon, it gives you access to the Discord server. And it's just if you support once. It's not like you get kicked out if you cancel your Patreon subscription. You still stay in the server and you get to post and everything. Just if you cancel your subscription, you just lose your cool green glowing role. Certain things in a study I feel like will consciously come back, but I think they're generally small things. The bigger picture, I trust, comes in more unconsciously. Like right here, this like almost like bow-shaped contour above the belly button that like shows how the stomach folds into itself. I feel like that, I really like the look of that. It's very clear on this model. It explains the way the form is folding very clearly. And I feel like that, a small thing like that, I wouldn't be surprised if I consciously recalled that when I go back to the actual drawing, to my creative drawing. That I feel like would be a conscious recall, but that's, you know, a little thing, and the little things are easy to remember. The overall gestalt is much harder to remember consciously than the little details. But fortunately, the unconscious is more than capable of handling the overall gestalt as long as you get out of its way. Cool Glim says, not sure if this would be something in FFI, but do you have any advice on rendering glass and very refractive glass with lots of twists and nods? Refractive glass with lots of twists and nods. Generally, anything that is, I mean, I'm not sure if we're thinking the same thing when you say refractive with like lots of twists and nods. I'm thinking of like a modeled, like textured glass. I don't really have a good word for it, but generally anything like that, you have to remember that first and foremost, it is transparent. So the most important thing about rendering something like that is actually what's behind it. Unless it's a piece of clear glass where you're looking at it at just the right angle that it then looks more reflective rather than transparent, in which case it's still about the environment. It's just, you need to think about what it's reflecting. But yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that is most commonly overlooked with the reflective and translucent materials, is that you have to ask yourself more questions about what is behind and around them than the reflective material itself, you know? Thinking about how to render a mirror is less about the mirror and more about what is around the mirror, you know? And if you need to do a really tight render of that, shoot reference. That'll save you so much time. It's like you've definitely got something refractive somewhere in your home. Grab that, grab your phone camera, put a lamp on it, or take it outside, and you know, it can be as simple as like in your picture, you know you need something green behind the refractive material. Just get like a green, I don't know, a green dog toy or anything green with a little bit of like information and shoot it behind that refractive material, and that'll just give you such a good foundation to go off of. And then you just kind of like nudge it, adjust it, make it work for the world that you're illustrating. But for those really complex materials, yeah, it is so worth your time to just take a half hour to look around your house and get something that will just give you direct real world information. Save you a ton of time. And we usually don't do it just because we're just lazy. Artists are just such lazy people. And we're really just like, yeah, I'd rather spend 3 days frustrated but sitting in my chair than half an hour walking around my house looking for something, just because I just can't be fucked to do that right now. That's artist for you. Hi, Art Dad. What's up? Charlie says, I'm going for angel wings in my drawing right now. Do you have any tips before I'm engaging into it? Look at my biggest thing with angel wings is, not to sound mean or anything, but like most wings that people draw are most angel wings that people draw are more boring than the wings on like any sparrow that's outside your window right now. Like if you just look at real bird wings, like anything one step above like the most common bird wings is like way cooler and way more interesting and way more interestingly designed than the boring white dove angel wings that people tend to draw. Even a white dove's wings are, you know, most people on angel wings, it's just like the same kinds of feathers over and over again, when it's like, if you look at a real bird's wings, every part of the wing has different kinds of feathers, you know, up at the edges, you know, where their elbows are, it's like those are more downy feathers. You have the flight pinions at the end, which are usually like, if you look carefully, it's actually like a discrete 4 or 5 longer feathers, and then back from those is like subflight, I forget what they're called, like subflight feathers or something like that, and those are like the pinions but shorter, and then there's layers of shorter feathers leading up to those downy feathers at the top. Like there's all sorts of different types of feathers and groupings that just makes an actual bird's wing look so deliciously designed. And then when people draw angel wings, they're just like these, just a bunch of little curves that indicate nothing, you know? I don't know. I just think it's a shame. It's like, really, your angel is getting completely owned by any random peacock that you'd find at an arboretum in your neighborhood? It's like, okay. Like, damn, turkey feathers are way cooler and more beautiful than most people's angel wings. I find that problem so annoying that it's like I don't even engage in the. For me, like when I'm doing my Paradise Lost stuff, I don't even try to compete with nature's actual bird wings. I just do abstracted, crazy wings. That's my kind of thing. I always wondered why more people didn't do that. But I've done a few drawings where I showed the world what was possible. I was like, this is an angel wing. Drew that arm out too far. It's much shorter on the actual model. Nature is the best. Goat horns are more interesting than demon horns. Yeah, I mean, just in general, I don't know. I mean, artists of this era are not too interested in observation, too caught up on the internet. So we've sort of lost our connection with observation. And artists these days tend not to have very varied backgrounds and lives. So I don't know. They don't research. They don't know stuff. So yeah, we just get these, angel wings are white. And I've never even really been bothered to look at what do a bird's wings actually look like? It's like a moment's observation there would reveal that most of the angel wings that you see are these cartoonish little uninteresting simplifications, Look at look at Cabanal's Satan. Like his angel wings are like these very foul inspired. There's like some peacock stuff going on, and they're just stunning. Is it Cabanal? Let me see. Yeah. Let me pull it up. At the risk of... I don't think this will make YouTube angry. Just quickly... Is that working? No. Hold on. Sorry, I don't know why that screen recorder is not working. Let me open up a window. Do. There we go. This is Cabanal's Fallen Angel. It's like, look at those wings. See, Cabanal knew. It's like they're definitely inspired by a specific... Like all the different colors, he's got the varying groupings. He's got some peacock stuff going on, some foul stuff going on. Like that's way better. than boring white dove wings. Rem Bernard says, I was sketching at the zoo yesterday. It felt like drawing is just an excuse to really look at things. Oh yeah, it kind of is. It really is. I say that about studying on here all the time. People often ask, what's the right way to do a master copy? That's a common question on here. And the answer that I always give is that it's actually less about the drawing. It's really less about what winds up on the paper. The most important thing that doing a master copy does, and same thing as, drawing someone in life or drawing an animal at the zoo, is that it lets you look at the thing very closely for like an hour or more. And that's almost impossible for most people to do if they're just looking. They go crazy after a minute. They start sweating, feeling fidgety. They need to take their phone out. People can't handle that. Drawing entertains you while you carefully look at something for hours possibly. And the nuance and the insight and the understanding that comes from intimate observation of that time is usually more valuable and more impactful than the mere incremental mechanical improvement that comes from whatever happened in the drawing. The real benefit is the looking, the intense looking. But people have really forgotten that these days. Like I said, like our artists have kind of forgotten about the looking. They're overly obsessed with the mechanical these days. They've turned drawing and art into a very athletic pursuit in a bad way. They are mostly in pursuit of raw athleticism. They're becoming less and less interested in intimacy with the world and the spiritual growth that can come from doing art. And they're becoming more and more interested in basically virtuosity for its own sake. Well, maybe not for its own sake, for a more nefarious sake most of the time, which is just what their virtuosity will allow them to say about themselves or what they hope people will think about them from virtuosity, It's just like, I want to be good at drawing so that people know that I'm badass at drawing. That's so much of people's motivations these days. And tons of artists, you ask them, what are you doing with your work? Like, what are you trying to say? Why do you do this? And most artists will stare at you with a gaping mouth. They have no idea what they're doing or why. They are just being controlled by this desire to prove their athleticism, and that's very new. That's a very modern product from what I can tell. That is not what art was for most of our history. That's not what drawing was for most of our history. It's very unfortunate as far as I can tell. It hinders the practice. And it won't last. It's not sustainable. The sooner it's gone, the better. Charlie says, I get it. I'm a bad artist, LOL. Yes, you are. You are a bad artist. But the bad part is that you don't want to get better. That's the real bad part. It's not so bad that you're bad. What's bad is that you don't want to get better. That you're just a bad little boy and you know it and you want to stay bad. That's the really bad part. Ambroise says, what do you mean by variant groupings? You mentioned that when looking at the Cabanel wings. If you know the principle of design variety, Cabanel was hunting for variety within that wing. He didn't want to repeat the same shapes, the same tones, the same values, the same colors very much in those wings. He was hunting for variety. And when you do variety, often to balance it, you need to group variety effectively. So that's what I mean by variety and groupings. That's the short way to put it. Obviously, there's a lot there. It is a very nuanced thing. Funnily enough, my design course, Design Fundamentals, goes into this in excruciating depth in the Principles of Design unit, where we cover variety and economy and balance and repetition as well. And it is 20% off until July 6th. That's right, folks. The deadline is coming up. Step right up, step right up. Get your design fundamentals piping hot. 20% off for summer. Don't miss your chance, folks. Come down to Zapata & Sons Course Emporium for our 4th of July sale. All courses are 20% off until July 6th. We got Form from Imagination, 20% off. Brand new Design Fundamentals, 20% off. I'm going crazy. I'm giving these courses away. We got used Secrets of Shading, 20% off. We got used Beginner Exercises for Beginners, 20% off. Remy Bernard says, I absolutely recommend the reading of Linda Barry's book, Syllabus. It's all about drawing even without technical knowledge to express oneself. That's interesting. I haven't heard of that one before. I'll open a tab and look at that later. I recently read The Artist's Way for the first time. Beloved art instructional book. All right, I'll check that out later. Yeah, people have been telling me for years, oh, you got to read The Artist's Way, you got to read The Artist's Way. A lot of people were, like a lot of students, you know, when I was teaching them, they'd be like, oh man, that's very similar to something in The Artist's Way. You gotta read that. So it had been on my list for a long time because I knew there was sort of like overlap there in philosophies. So I finally read it. I felt like I already knew also a lot of the stuff in it because through students and through some people I know in my life personally who were big into it, I had like already had long discussions with them about like some of the famous exercises and things like that. It was pretty good. I have to admit I wasn't the biggest fan, but not because I thought any of the material was bad. I just didn't really like the tone personally, which is funny because it's so similar to my tone. Maybe I just don't want to hear anything that, you know, it's like I'm too used. It's like I hear enough of this, think enough about this. Rakukuku says, I always thought about the pursuit of skill or refinement of the craft as like a noble cause or something like that. It is a noble cause, sure, but it has to be in service to. It's not a noble cause, raw pursuit of skill, raw refinement of the craft, as is done in the current era, I don't think is a noble cause. It's like in the past, like let's say, it's just art has changed so much with culture. It's like in the past, it would have been more wholesome for an artist, let's say in the Renaissance or something like that, to become obsessed purely with the refinement of craft and things like that, because they were already learning within a context where it was a given that with this incredible craft, you were going to integrate yourself into your community. You were going to do some of the most important work in the world at that point, you know? You were going to elevate the most important part of life, spirituality, and this thing that pulled people out of the mundane, everyday suffering of life. It's like the context sort of had the spiritual stuff handled for you, but that has crumbled. So now that same raw dedication to craft or refinement, unless it's handled with incredible care, there's nothing to catch you on the other side. You know, you're going to do all of that to basically be turned into a hired gun for companies that are just using you to make advertisements, to create more, you know, wanting and comparison in the world and just further degrade people's spirits. It's like, it doesn't obtain to the same level. So because culture has abandoned us and doesn't have a good noble bucket to hold the great skills that we may build, you could say that the foreground for you is just the raw refinement of craft and skill. But for that really to go well for you in life, you need to also create your own noble end beyond that. You do need a good application. You do need something that you're trying to say, something that you are trying to do with it. Because if you don't claim that, the world is going to seize and pervert your skill to its own ends and undermine it completely. I like the upward facing look of the second study. This one is more flat on, and the photos are like this, so it makes sense. This one is more flat on. The looking up feeling here feels more like Satan to me. And I do feel like I captured it decently well in the drawing. The problem is that a flat view aligns better with the rest of my compositional sketch, because the composition that I'm playing with this for, the current versions of it are on a very long lens, because I want it to be big. I want to do another really big wide one. It's on a very long lens and things are very flat because of that. So this would be trickier to integrate. It's not impossible. There are tricks you can do, but it would definitely be trickier to integrate this, which is on a shorter lens, trickier to integrate this into the overall composition, even though I think this on its own is a more appropriate shot. And definitely just like the central, the focus on the crotch definitely feels like, thematically appropriate for the devil, you know, just like impulse and id and all of that. Suplex Mess says, shouldn't the first goal be to pursue higher skills in art is to be able to express your ideas more coherently? Yeah, I think you're agreeing with me, not disagreeing. Something just fell off the table over there, and I need to pick it up. And I also need to use the restroom, so I'll be back in 1 minute. Go on. Go on, Doug. Okay. Rolly Jones says, I don't know if I have anything to say with my art. I just want to draw things that make me laugh. Definitely burned out from trying to get good. So I don't want to do that ever again. I think trying to get good for no good reason burns out a lot of people. I fight against that a lot on these streams. So I get it. I get it. And look, laughter is a thing to say with your art, you know? When I say you need to know what you're doing with your art, you need to have something to say, a lot of people then quickly put into that message, they put into that space, they project an assumption of something profound and dark, you know, something heavy, very serious. And that is a way for people to go, but that's just a prejudice. That's just a mental image of what real serious something to say is. But that's not the case. You know, it's totally legit to say, The thing that I'm trying to do with my art, what I have to say is I'm trying to add laughter to the world. I'm trying to make comedic work or cartoons and things like that. That's totally legit. The trick is really knowing that and owning that, you know? The real trick is just, so much of it comes down to dispelling the confusion around what you're doing, being able to own your art instead of being wishy-washy and easily influenced and manipulated and tossed about and beat off course. Fortunately, the hand on this one is right where the other drawing's hand is, so. Can't really do much there. But I will lightly indicate it. Memorp says, it's definitely hard for me to draw with a purpose. A lot of recent sketches are just small improvised portraits that I kind of flow into, but it's difficult for me to tack on meaning to them. Yeah, it's not your fault. It is not your fault. I mean, culture did this to you. It did it to all of us. We're all just trying to get by. Just be open to meaning. Be open to something deeper so that when it comes, you don't reject it. Because in the current era, a lot of people do. He's holding an axe in the reference photos, but I'm turning it into sort of a cross-shaped spear. My own little design for Satan's spear. The symbolism is a little on the nose and obvious, of course, but I think it works. Three Mart says, hello, I've been getting into comics and want to start making some. Do you have any advice? Any book recommendations? First advice is just make them. Don't let anything get in the way. You're gonna let stuff get in the way. Just make them. I'm working on a big video about this right now. It's not anything new. You know, we talk about this on this stream all the time. I'm just making a video that sort of bundles it all up into one package. But the biggest, most common problem that beginners have is that they have these projects they want to do. You're getting into comics, and they won't let themselves do them because they think they need to be great at them before they can do them. So you're going to start making a comic. The drawings are not going to look the way you want them to look, and then you're going to quit making your comic because you're going to think, oh, I need to go draw 1 million boxes and do 10,000 figure drawings and la, 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 la. That is where everybody messes up. And that is the core problem that beginners have in this era. Don't let that happen. To get good at making your comics, you have to make a lot of comics. You have to keep making them. And yes, you're going to have to ship some comics with mediocre drawings. Hate to tell you. But the truth is that you don't live in a world where beginners make amazing drawings. And you're either going to accept that true fact or you are going to not make any fucking art. So you need to accept that and keep going. And as I always say on here, Can you still improve while doing that? Can you still study while doing that? Yes. You do your comics, they're the foreground. Your projects are always the foreground. And when things go wrong, you study the things that went wrong secondary in a supporting capacity at night, in the second half of your session, whatever. And you never let the studies become the foreground of the practice. You can still study. You can still do a lot of studying, but they're secondary. You make sure your creativity is always foreground. If you don't do that, I promise you, you will regret it. You will regret it. You will spend years only studying. You will be shocked to find that that actually allows your creativity to atrophy because you're not practicing engaging with your creativity. You're only practicing engaging with perspective or whatever. And you get good at what you practice. And then you're going to have a hell of a time rebooting that entire creative system after 6 years of grinding definitively uncreative things with your art, because then you'll just have built a habit for doing low risk, no stakes, objectified work that you can just say, I succeeded because these lines converge to the proper vanishing points, when no such simple an answer is available in real creative work. So you need to keep your head in the creative space and not in the study space. Hun Snapper says, bought the FFI course. Thanks, Hun Snapper. Seriously. But seriously, you get the course. High-pitched, weird sounds aside, you get the course. Thank you. In all sincerity, I appreciate the support, truly. You're going to love the course. You're going to love it. Art Dad Draws said... Art Dad was responding to 3Mart, who also asked for book recommendations. I forgot about that. Art Dad Draws recommends Understanding Comics. Yes. I've skimmed Understanding Comics. I don't do comics, so it didn't need like a deep read from me yet, but it seemed good. It's very like on the I think it's a good starter for like some of the deeper concepts in art, like how panels create the sense of time and all of that. It's interesting stuff. I would also recommend Marcos Mateos Mestre's Framed Ink. It's a classic now. A faster read than Understanding Comics, I think, though they're both probably fast reads. Framed Ink applies more to, it's explicitly like a storyboarding book, so it is about things changing over time, but the concepts there are also very applicable to just individual pictures, and I think it's just very good as like a fast prompter for here's the basics of how shapes tell stories and influence the way people feel about a picture. It's one of the best fast prompters. That's Marcos Mateo Mestre's Framed Ink. It pops right up if you search it, Framed Ink. It's the first one. That's what I'm talking about. There's follow-ups. I think there's 3 now. There's Framed Ink 2, and then Framed Ink 3 is like Framed Stories or Framed Perspective or something like that, or Framed Environments or something like that. I've only read the first one. Yeah, Remy says Understanding Comics is thick. I also remember it being quite long, actually, surprisingly long for something like that. And there's a lot of info on every page, and it's heady concepts, so you're kind of looking at the pages for a long time. Framed Ink you can read in an afternoon, and you'll read Framed Ink in an afternoon and have concepts to grapple with for years worth of concepts. Yuri Huang says, Steven, how did you approach marketing research when you were building these products? You're in my market research right now. I don't do any of that. I don't do any of that analytics stuff, SEO. All of that stuff I'm allergic to and would make me quit my business if that's what I had to do to run my business. I base my products and how I talk about them and what I make and all of that just on this direct interaction with my audience. That's the only thing I could do. Everything else makes me sleepy. You know, what better quote unquote market research is than I've got a bunch of art people in here, a lot of them students, who they can just tell me, here's my problems, here's what I wish I knew. And I mean, that's the best. That's the best. And after years and years of doing these streams, I have a very good sense of what people say they want. But more importantly than that, for me, after years and years of answering people's questions, I feel like I know what people don't know they want, but they need, you know? And that's more what I'm interested in as an educator. Naturally, if you're going to focus on those things, you're going to make less money than if you just gave people what they know they want. You know, people are much more, obviously, people are much more interested in buying what they will explicitly say they want right now, and they're less likely to, if they don't know they need this, right? Like, it's much more difficult to get them over the line on wanting to buy it, right? But, you know, making a ton of money is not my first priority, so that's fine with me. And I'm much more interested in introducing these strange ideas, strange products, or strange to them, strange to the students, because then I feel like I'm really pushing things forward. You know, I'm moving the needle on art instead of just recapitulating the same old crap that everybody else is repeating. Goodbye, Remy. Thanks for being here. Pleasure having you. $825 says, how would you recommend tackling a project that feels too big? Very carefully. Just break it down into smaller parts. I like to make a spreadsheet where I put every individual part of the project that I can identify into a cell on the spreadsheet. And then when I work on the project, I just pick a cell, and instead of thinking about the whole big overwhelming thing, I just say to myself, I'm just trying to turn this one cell green instead of red. And that's it. Memorp says, what are your thoughts on the recent internet obsession over aesthetics and putting names on older styles? For example, Frutiger Aero, Gen X Soft Club. I haven't heard of either of those, but I've been on the aesthetics wiki and all of that, so I know what you're talking about. I haven't heard of those two examples, so I'm curious to look them up. It's cute, you know. It's not like I think it's... Well, maybe I do think it's the devil, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, maybe it's not cute. Maybe it's the source of all evil in the world. Yeah, it might be. I think it makes sense for our era, you know? It feels like an obsessive cataloging of all of the permutations of aesthetics. It's like, to me, it almost feels like a desperate search. Like, it's like we're trying to figure out why we can't make anything, you know? I feel like unconsciously people are realizing that we have lost the ability to sincerely inhabit something and believe in something. So we're like going back and cataloging almost bureaucratically. Like this is when things look like this, and here's why they looked like this. And maybe we feel deep down that if we can understand the whys that motivated creation in the past, we can sort of reverse engineer it and find a way to restart our culture, reboot our culture. But I think in the long run, it's probably doing the exact opposite. Like, yeah, treating it so bureaucratically and turning what was perhaps at times sincere and heartfelt engagement with aesthetics instead into raw data. You know, that can't be good, you know, because data can't speak to the heart. Data can't enliven the heart. Data can never drive the authentic with like a capital A, you know? Data can only produce if this, then that. People are not interested in that. Yuri Huang says, do you ever get recognized on the streets of New York? Occasionally, actually, yeah. Not much. It's happened probably 2 times. Which I found quite remarkable considering how populous New York is. But yeah, not a lot, but it has happened. Suplex Mess says, reminds me of how every music is getting tagged with a peculiar type core variant. Like people really need to micro-categorize everything for the sake of it. Yeah, I think maybe it's just from like, that's becoming normalized mostly from work. You know, maybe people are used to at work, everything is bureaucratic. You know, you've got to categorize everything, log everything, make sure that you say every time that you did anything. There's got to be paperwork to back up everything, every little thing you took out of a closet or that you asked somebody, or it's just, oh my God. I don't know how you guys do it. Seriously, thank God. Thank God. I don't have to waste my brain space with that stuff, but I know that's how it is. And I think if that becomes the norm, you know, if that's how everybody's spending their 9 hours a day, then yeah, why would you not look at everything else, including your art, the stuff that's not supposed to be like that, and just do the same thing, just bureaucratize it, because this is the only way that you know how to, this is how you've been trained to interact with anything that matters, right? Because your work matters, right? So Sketch with Creativity says, how can I draw good? Well, that's probably the end of the channel, folks. I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? I think you broke my brain with that one. I really... You can't ask me that. You can't ask me that. You can't ask me that. How can I draw good? Oh, man. That is the end of the channel. Lenimo says, I also want to know how to draw good. What is even good? See, that's the thing. It's like, that's why I said you can't ask me that. How can I draw good? Because I know how dangerous of a question that is, right? You go around asking that question to art teachers, someone's just going to shove you right into their meat grinder, you know? And I refuse to do that. The question is, the first thing you really need to do is you need to know, what do you want to draw? What do you want to do? Because if you just say, how can I draw good? People are just going to say, you got to do A, B, C, D, E, F, you got to use my method, you got to do this and this step, blah, 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 blah. Everybody's got their own goddamn system. And it's like, none of them are actually reacting to what you need personally, what you want to do. So the first question is, what do I want to do? And know that with specificity and with certainty, as much certainty as you can muster at wherever you are in the journey. Of course, levels of certainty change as the years go on, you change your mind, but try to think about it, write about it a little, like have some confidence, and then use that to vet what you need to learn how to draw, right? Use that to decide what fundamentals are relevant, what fundamentals aren't. Some of you may be shocked to hear that some fundamentals are relevant to some people and irrelevant to others. You don't need to know every fundamental. If you know what you want to do with art, it should be clear which ones you don't need to spend that much time on or deal with at all. And that's fine. That's fine. You are under no obligation to learn every fundamental in order to call yourself an artist. You are under no obligation to practice every fundamental so that the International Board of Badass Draftsmen will send you your membership card. You just do what you need. You just do what you need. So it's not how can I draw good, it's how can I draw the things I want to do good. And that will control all of your decisions, decide how you engage with everything. Show says, any advice for someone who wants to tell stories and create their own worlds, but don't have any ideas to begin with? It's very interesting. And I mean interesting with a capital I. To find, and I think this is common, I'm not calling you out, I think a lot of people feel this way, to find that you are someone with that urge, but without any ideas, quote unquote, to follow through with that urge. I think that's very, very interesting. I think that is created by our culture, and I think that it's not the way things always were, and that it contains a lot of subtle data. There's a lot of subtle data there. In terms of advice, unfortunately, because I think that's such a deep thing, my advice is to investigate it deeply. Investigate it deeply. It's going to take a long time, in terms of a practical starting point. From my experience teaching people, what cracks this nut for them is an archetypal experience. That the details are different for each person, but it's always something like this. They realized that something they thought the art could not be about is what the art was supposed to be about. That, I'm sure you can tell from the way I said it, is usually experienced as a life-changing eureka. And it is genuinely life-changing. It doesn't just change that. It does tend to go on and change the rest of their life. And then because they know such a surprise is possible, it changes how they deal with new problems in their life. It goes beyond just the practical matter, right? They go through that experience. They realize that as a practical matter, okay, That's what I make my art about. That's what the ideas are. That's what the story is. I'm going to use this thing that I thought the art couldn't be about, but that I'm deeply, insanely interested in. And now I've broken down this barrier and I can make art about it. That it goes beyond the practical matter. It makes them feel better. It expands their horizons. It improves the way that they work, things like that. So it's not just the ideas. It improves a lot about the practice. If you are hearing this and your immediate reaction is, well, I don't have that. I don't have something that I think the art couldn't be about that I can turn into the art. That's exactly it. It's like, it is so well covered up. You take it as such a given that the art could not be about that you think you don't even have that thing. That's how deeply hidden it is. That's how subtle it is. That is, everyone who I've seen go through that experience, who I've helped go through that experience, if they break through, when they break through, they all always started being like, well, I don't have that thing. And I'd have to look at them and be like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. It's complicated, you know. The path is about introspection. It's going to be tricky. It'll be worth it once you figure it out. Shut up, Omar. I'll kill you. I will kill you tomorrow. Count today as your last day on Earth. And you know what's crazy? You know what's fucked up? If I killed you, I'd go to prison. That's so wrong. Because I would have been doing such a service for the world. For me to be imprisoned for that act of charity is insane. A miscarriage of justice. Now I'm going to poke on this face a little bit, and then I think I'm done with this study. And on to the next one. Do I have another? Oh no, I do have another photo that's a pretty different pose. All right, so I do have a third lined up to do. Let me just poke at this face for a little bit though. Yuntal says, I joined a Steven stream after months and the man is still spitting bars. It never stops. It never stops. The bars must flow. Bendick says, that's an interesting thought. There might be something I think I can't make art about. Not considered that before. My friend, it might turn out to be the most interesting thought you've ever had. It really might go that way. Reminder again, all courses 20% off until July 6th. So just a few days left. That goes for the feedback versions of the courses that are on my website and the non-feedback version of Form from Imagination that is on Proko. All 20% off till July 6th. Get them while they're piping hot. For the feedback versions, there are no time limits on feedback, so it is a good idea to get it on sale and then sit on it till you are ready to submit for feedback. Kuklim says, thanks for the advice earlier. I know you have always made an emphasis on completing big projects, but they burn me out bad. I feel I find a lot more joy in finishing smaller, readable ones. Well, when I say project, I don't mean inherently big. You know, a project can be just an individual drawing. But if you've ever, your heart will tell you when an individual drawing is a project or when it's a disposable thing. And all I mean is that you do want to make sure that you are engaged with the stuff that your heart tells you this is a project. You know, there's problems to solve. There's multiple parts. Even if it is a single drawing, right? Like, everybody knows, when a drawing is asking for a lot from you. That's just important to keep contact with, because in the end, the work that matters to you the most is invariably going to be a project. It's going to be project pieces, even if it's just individual finished pieces. And if you don't feel that way, if you feel that, no, what's going to matter to you the most is disposable stuff, then you don't need any help. You don't need my help or anybody else's help. It's like, by its nature, you don't really have to give a fuck because it's disposable. It's not rising to any kind of a level. But just to be clear, when I say project, don't project into that space that I mean it has to have 1,000 moving parts and you need spreadsheets to resolve it, and it's either a book or a video game or an anime. It's like, no, I think of individual drawings as projects as well. I'm just trying to point people away from constantly conditioning engagement only with things that they feel are disposable, that it doesn't really matter if they do this, because then when it matters that you do this, you're going to freak the fuck out. You have built the habit of finding it mattering scary. And I think it should be clear that then that basically guarantees you're going to not do the things that really do matter to you, you know? Shu says, is there a way to go about finding that thing, or do I just have to keep drawing and exploring different things? You have to draw and explore, but you also need to introspect. You know, if for you, the situation is what I described, where there is something you don't think the art can be about, that the art needs to be about. That thing is kind of in a blind spot, you know, for a lot of people. It's in a corner of the mind that you're not looking, or you're overlooking. So you need to introspect. You need to think about it. You need to analyze. You need to look around. How to do that is different from individual to individual. Maybe you need to journal, meditate with conscious thinking. You know, a lot of people, you know, they think they're doing a lot of thinking, but a lot of people, if you actually think about it, you rarely actually just sit and think. You know, thinking is something that you're doing while you're doing other stuff, like the dishes and things like that. But how often do you actually just think, actively think? There is a difference. There is an interesting difference. Or beyond those things that you do with yourself, you could work with someone, right? You could work with a therapist. You know, you could bring that question to a therapist and have the therapist help you talk about it or something like that. Or you could work with someone like me. If you take one of my workshops, that's a big thing that I do in my workshops. We talk about that a lot. I spend a lot of time with students talking about their personal stuff and trying to unravel things like this. If you're willing. Some people are much more, you know, they don't want to do that with someone who isn't a therapist because, you know, they may have things in their background that scare the fuck out of them and things like that. And it's like, I can only talk about this if I'm talking to someone who can prescribe me a Xanax if things go horribly. And that's legit. That's legit. But yeah, there's things you can do with yourself, to yourself, introspect, and you can also work with people with it. You can work with a teacher like me, you can work with a therapist. Hell, if you have just a friend who agrees with these sentiments and is sort of out there with you on it, you can work with it with a peer, with a friend. Dan Charles C says, like passion projects versus practice studies dailies. Now that you've said that, I realize I've done too much studies and zero projects. I mean, that's why I got to keep saying it on here and have been for years. You know, that's like the whole thesis of this channel. But every time I come on here and stream, I say it, and there's someone like you who says, oh, wait, shit. Hearing you say that, it's like, yep, so I gotta... That buys me another stream where I gotta keep talking about it. Someday, I'll do a stream and everyone on the stream will say, yeah, we get it. Yeah, we know. And on that day, I can delete the channel. Finally, my great work will be done. Hi, Kyo. Hey, 1 second. I'm seeing if my family's home. I thought I heard something. Nope. My plan today is to just stream until my family gets home from the beach, but I don't know when they're coming back. So if I wind up jumping off somewhat suddenly, it's because of that. Aizen Kantu says, hey, Steven, do you think someone can improve by drawing fast and loose? Definitely. Often that's what someone needs to improve. Or does most practice need to be tight and technical in order to see improvement, mainly with things like figure drawing and shading? No. Practice doesn't need to be anything. I remember my, I needed that pill. I had a period where in order to improve, I needed to let go and draw faster and looser. And I'm very glad that I did. I was given that pill by my good friend and one of the many teachers I've had over the years, Ahmed Al-Douri. It was when we were in school together. I have sucked at art for most of my time. I'm a very, very slow learner. Oh my God. So in college, I was still very, very bad. Very, very bad. But Ahmed, always good. Always good. There just wasn't really a time where he wasn't awesome at art. So I asked Ahmed to train me for a bit. It's not like, I was already being trained by 7 people, I had all these classes and all. We were in art college, but I still asked Ahmed, like, give me some like structured training. Like, talk to me about it, how you understand it, what you know. Because Ahmed loved teaching. He always, even when he was young and even as a student, he liked working with people naturally. And the main thing that he gave me, he was just like, you're way too tight. You're just like, you think that you can technical your way to badass drawings. But Ahmed was the one who taught me that nobody really cares that something is technical. They might care if it's technical and cool as fuck, but no one's going to give you points for just technical. He was like, it needs to be cool as fuck first. It needs to look cool. And then later you could do technical and cool, but cool comes first. So he gave me that pill and he forced me to, you're going to go through a period where you loosen the fuck up and just let yourself go crazy. And I really hadn't done that before he made me do it. So yeah, some people, they need specifically that to keep getting better. You know, there's definitely like a contrast thing going on. Like if you're a naturally loosey-goosey person, maybe you need a little technical stuff to balance you out. And if you're very technical, then maybe you need a little loosey-goosey stuff to balance you out. It's hot as hell in New York today, but beautiful, beautiful day. The light outside is just lovely. Ed next says, Steven, how do you usually digitize your traditional work? On a flatbed scanner. Not a particularly good one. I mean, it was good when it came out, but it's like 14 years old now or something like that. It's very old. I'm sure there's better ones on the market now. But yeah, just a pretty middle of the road flatbed scanner. Not a big one either. If I have a really big drawing, I scan it in parts and then stitch the parts together. I like the hand position in this study. It's not like he's blocking his face. It's like he's pinching his temple. It looks like he's thinking. I like it. That I might lift pretty directly for the piece itself. Lenemo says, working on getting over burnout myself. Most helpful thing so far, cut back, not cut it out, but only do it in tiny increments. Take care of your energy levels first, then draw. Yeah, I agree with that. Artists tend to have very extreme personality type, so I find that we often go to like, if I can't draw as much as I want, I might as well not draw at all. I was like, no, that's just our extremeness coming through. It's like, if you can only draw a little bit, just draw a little bit, you know? That way you're still drawing. All right, good. Let me just give myself a little indication of the perspective. He's sitting on some boxes in the reference photo, so I can actually pull perspective, or I can actually concretely know the perspective in the picture. So the top of this box is flat, and you can see the top of the box below this one ever so slightly. So that means this. So actually, let's say this, because he touches here, and then his foot is actually just overlapping that. So actually, this line is the horizon line. Just about. Now, just if I wind up, if for some reason I wound up basically using this directly, I could at least have a hard data point that this is the horizon line for the figure. And then I could see how that fits in with that. I could see how that fits in with like what happens if I try to transform the perspective of the rest of the sketch, because there's a lot going on in the rest of the sketch around that. Nobody says, what are you reading? I'm not reading anything right now. I'm kind of monk mode right now. Well, no, the monks read the Bible a lot. They read sacred texts a lot. No, I'm on just like a full rest right now. I am consuming almost nothing at the moment. Yeah. I'm not reading, not listening to music, no podcasts, no audiobooks. Phone use is basically down to zero. You know, I just, my phone's off in the other room at all times. And like once this week, I was like, I'm going to post some ads to Instagram to let people know the sale is still going. Just install Instagram, 20 minutes or so to make the posts, uninstall, phone away again. Yeah, it's been that way for a while now. It's not like I gave up reading. I'm sure I'll read again soon enough, but just, yeah. Lately, I'm just into total stillness. Oh, I think my family's home. Well, it better be my family, or else who else is in here? Daryl says, I'm aiming for a few days here and there soon. Like a few days with nothing, like I was saying. My brain is tired from recent work and I need some monk mode rest to tap into my thoughts and silence. Yeah. I think it's something we all need as artists somewhat regularly or on a very ongoing capacity. I personally find I need a lot of stillness. I need a lot of stillness in my life. And it's just, I mean, it's wonderful, you know, I mean, I love it, you know. I don't know how many people do it, but just working, you know, just drawing 7 hours with nothing, just silence, you know, no music, no audiobook, no YouTube, nothing open, just, it's like, that is the base experience, you know, that's how most people spend most of their lives working. And it's great. It's great. It's always been my favorite, you know. Ukazi Saibula, that's a tough one. Ukazi Saibula, 4309, gives 100 PLN. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good to see you too. You know I'm going to turn those 100 PLN into pure, uncut Colombian coffee for my son. And he's going to drink it piping hot out of his little bottle while he watches the Colombia-Ghana game tonight. Dale. I'm not really following the World Cup. I just know Colombia's playing tonight. You guys know I don't really follow sports. Augustine Baleen says, big fan, quick question. Do you have any tips for connecting the hips to the upper torso? I think you mean just the torso, right? Any landmarks to look for? The traditional is, it also depends what you mean by hips, right? Because people that's kind of an ambiguous term. People mean different things by that. But the traditional landmarks for it are, 2 pelvic landmarks, a bony landmark, and then one that places important muscles. So they're the anterior superior iliac spine and the anterior inferior iliac spine. So the anterior superior iliac spine is, you know, if you're looking at a ripped guy, so this is his abs, right, down to his groin. You know, there's that line where the external oblique dives down to the crotch, and there's like a bone right here right? We all know it on a ripped dude. If we see it on us, we're like, all right, the diet's working. That's the anterior superior iliac spine. That placing that correctly, because it has a relationship with the pelvic bone and to the iliac crest, that is generally considered one of the most important landmarks for connecting hips to torso. It has important cousins though. It has an antagonist on the back called the posterior superior iliac spine. So if you go to the back of the pelvis, so we're on the back of the body now, hidden back here is the posterior superior iliac spine, and that sort of the two on either side contain the sacrum in the back. That helps you think of the pelvis and thus the hips in 3 dimensions. But the other thing that I was saying was the inferior superior iliac spine. The inferior, is it inferior superior? It's not superior, but basically there's another point down here, and this is important for, somebody remind me what this point is. I'm forgetting. It's not inferior superior iliac spine. It's right under the ASIS. But this point, which is right underneath, and that gap is important, is where important muscles insert, or at least go to. So like the rectus femoris dives deep there, and the tensor fascia lata, which is a very important hip muscle, and the sartorius, you see how they both make like a pincer there? There's a very important triangle going on there. And the important thing is that when someone's like sitting, for example, so there's the anterior superior iliac spine, this gap, this important gap, stays. It actually stays put. It doesn't bend. So you get a little wall going down, and then the leg comes out from there. So you get the anterior superior iliac spine, rectus femoris dives out, tensor fascia lata contorts around that point, and then the sartorius dives behind the rectus femoris. So you could see, if you understand that very well, you get a very intuitive understanding for how the hips are going to connect with the torso in various positions and things like that. Yes, the ICE, the anterior inferior iliac spine. Thank you. Always hard to remember little details like that on the fly. But yes, it's where the leg actually bends. All right, so I'm gonna hang out for a little bit. I was gonna do a third study, but now my family is back, so I'm going to begin winding down to signing off. So maybe I did have a third photo that I was interested in. Maybe I'll doodle that third photo real quick just to get it into my bloodstream, but I'm not gonna like closely study it like I did the other two. But I will be signing off soon because I need to go see my baby. I know he's over there and I need to give him a kiss. So if anyone has any last questions, throw them in chat. Let's do our wind down chat. Try to lightning round it. And again, as a reminder, the courses are on sale, 20% off until July 6th. There's the last few days left here to pick them up on 20% off. It's been the biggest, grandest sale on my courses that there's ever been. And thank you to everybody who has picked them up already. I greatly appreciate the support. And I know that the courses are going to help you out on your journey. And to the people who got the feedback versions, who have been posting their work, I've been very happy to see your art and see the submissions coming in. We're gonna have a great time. Just to clarify, ACEs is in front, PCIS is in back. Yeah, the posterior superior iliac spine. You see it on people, like if you're looking at someone's back on either side of their, like that tailbone triangle that you can see right at the top of their butt crack, there's these 2 extra points that generally on a body, they're depressed because they're a bony landmark, but on bony people, they'll stick out because it's a bone. Those are the posterior superior iliac spines. You'll find all this stuff in any anatomy book. These are major, major landmarks that anatomy books always cover. But they're definitely, if you can sort of control, that's 6 points total. So anterior superior iliac spines in the front, posterior superior iliac spines in the back, and then the ICE, the anterior inferior iliac spines. If you can control those 6 points in your head, that's most of handling the hip interaction with the torso. The hips have other things that need to be dealt with, like the great trochanters from the femur and all that, but gluteus medius, gluteus maximus, but those are less about the interaction with the torso. It all comes into play, though. It's great being on stream because I always know when I blank on a name, I always know someone in the chat knows it because there's a bunch of nerds in here. So I could just say, "What is it? What's the name?" It's like when I'm teaching, if I'm teaching like in a class, it's not like anatomy is the main focus of any of my classes, but if I'm like in a workshop and it becomes relevant, we're critiquing something, and there's like an anatomy thing like that, if I blank and I ask, often nobody knows. So I have to be like, all right, let me get a book, or we just have to forget about it. It's way easier on stream. Or just say, what's the name? What's the name? I'm just doing a more cursory study. Just the big placements for this one. I'm not going to study it as in-depth as I did the others. It would be good to do a more involved study of this one though, because it's a very different pose and energy than the other two. So there is something to figure out here. Cream or no cream in the coffee? I put oat milk these days. I've personally never been the type to take it black. I went through a phase, probably 2 years, where I did drink my coffee black, but eventually I decided, why am I abusing myself? And I went back to putting some milk in there. And I much prefer the taste of oat milk, actually, for just plain coffee. I find it tastes much better than putting milk or cream in there for me. I guess I've just come to find the like half and half or whole milk or anything like that. It's just like, it's like way too creamy. It's just like the dairiness winds up taking up the whole cup for me. Oat milk's like just mellow enough. I don't know. It's my preference now. I still prefer regular milk in like a frothed drink, like a latte or something like that, but in regular coffee. Oat milk's my preference now. Hi, Stephen. Can you share the reference photos if they're online somewhere? I can. Actually, well, I mean, you probably want me to share the pack, but I just realized that this guy's actually wearing underwear in all of these. So usually I don't show the reference photo because I'm usually working from nude reference photos, but he's got underwear in these, so I can actually show this. I know it's right at the end of stream here, so it doesn't really matter, but does this pop up? No, I'm trying to show it, but it's glitching. See my mouse doing something weird. Okay. I'll just give you a link. I think I can find it really fast. Sitting. Maybe I can't find it really fast. How is it not popping up? Let me search the exact name on Proko, because I got it from Poco. Porco? Proko. So let me see. What is the actual name? Sitting pose reference pictures. Here we go. Here, I'll put it in the chat. That's the pack I'm using right now. Daryl says, man, silence feels great right now. Watching the stream is my first thing on here in the past few days. Yeah, it's always been the best for me. How'd it go?
Good.
Did Beavis have a good time?
Yes.
Good.
He put a lot of rocks in his mouth.
Oh, great, great.
Yes.
Is Kelly still here?
Yeah.
Is she hanging out?
Yeah.
Okay.
You gonna stream for a while?
I'm winding down here.
Okay.
Yeah.
No rush.
Okay. You guys got any plan now?
No.
Just gonna hang out here?
I'm put him down for his nap soon and just hang out.
All right.
Okay.
Any lunch ideas?
What?
Did you guys eat lunch?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
All right, then I'm gonna eat lunch.
Put pizza on for you?
I'll put it on because I'm not quite sure how much longer I'll be, but not long. I'll be out in a little bit. Okay. Careful now. Was that your ear or the dog?
No, my ear.
Oh fuck. You feel okay?
It was a struggle.
Is it bad again?
No, but I haven't been out with it.
Sorry. Was it cooler at the beach? Or we'll talk later. We'll talk in a little bit. I'll come out. I forgot what I was saying. Daryl said, "Man, science feels great." Yeah, I mean, I've been regularly doing like what I think of as like detoxes, like art detoxes of one form or another, for a very, very long time. I remember the first one that I did was probably 2014, so over a decade ago now. I know that was the first one. I'd never done one before that. But I was just feeling so unbalanced and misaligned. I knew I was in a bad place because I couldn't see art without getting upset. So I said, I just need to do a reset. So I didn't look at art. Like, I very pointedly did everything I could to not look at art unless I had to for work, because I was working as an artist at the time. So obviously I'm going to look at my work, and I'm going to look at the work I need to look at for work and other people's art at the office who I need to, work on their pieces with them and things like that. Obviously, obvious concessions aside, I refused to look at art. I think I did that I remember it was something like 2 months. I think that detox was 2 months, and it really helped. I've always recommended that ever since to people who either feel like they just don't have any access to what they want to do, or they're feeling the kind of like envious and jealous misalignment, and just like being unable to just enjoy art again. You know, it's becoming too self-reflexive. You're always, you can't look at a piece of art without comparing it to yourself. You just detox for a while, you know, let the system empty out. And then, yeah, you know, that expanded into other things. You know, once I saw that that worked, I was willing to play with it with other things, you know, stop music, stop podcasts, audiobooks, you know. As a professional artist, you consume a huge amount of media just because you can, you know, you have a lot of time while you work on art, because art takes a long time, and you know, your auditory channels are open for the most part, so you listen to a lot of things, watch a lot of things, well, quote unquote watch them, you know, listen to them in the background while you do art. I think a lot of us are just big consumers of media, and we're artists, so we're obviously interested in other arts in media, but yeah, you gotta. No, you don't have to. I think it depends on who you are as a person. For me, I've definitely found it gets to be too much, and I just regularly need to unplug from absolutely everything. And really, I don't know, once I'm in it, I'm always like, why not this all the time? You know, just be permanently unplugged. It might get there someday. Who knows? Maybe this one is it. Maybe this was the last time. What was upsetting you about looking at art? If you've been on the like career-minded, improvement-focused side of art for a very long time, you have, or you know someone who, very common experience, you forget what it's like to just look at art as a viewer, as a consumer, and to enjoy art, because you've become so obsessed with improving and what it means that you're an artist and how you're going to get better and are you going to be able to make it a career. That stuff has just completely colonized your mind. And so you only look at art as that's better than what I can do, or I can do better than that. And just general jealousy, comparisons, and oh, how'd they do that? And oh, their career is going better than mine. And oh, they're younger than me and I haven't done that yet. It's a boring, tired playbook that anyone who's done art for a long time knows. But it just robs you of your ability to enjoy your work and to wholesomely enjoy the work of others. You've just become completely self-reflexive, and you can't just look at something anymore and enjoy it. But yeah, a good way to cure it is starve yourself for art so that you're so hungry for it that when you see it again, you're like, oh, thank God. Thank you so much for making art. You're a fucking angel. I love you, whoever you are. And also it has the common side effect of you get so starved for art that you realize like, well, no one's going to make it. I've got to make it because I got to see something. I'm not allowed to see anything else. So it kind of helps kickstart your own creativity too. It gets it out of you kind of start making art for yourself just because you want to see some goddamn art and you can't see it any other way. So for a quick study for me, as opposed to this, really all I'll do is do the proportional lay-in. I missed the fee here, but I try to not draw everything I don't need to draw everything to a big level, but I just place everything. And I try to place everything. Head, hands, feet. Just to a level where it's like, I got the proportions and I got the placement. You know, everything overlaps what it's supposed to overlap, interacts with the floor the way that it is in the reference. And then all I tend to do is just linearly, like I did here, indicate the form shadow and any cast shadows that it may be doing, and then I'm out. Everything else is more incidental detail that is really more in line with a more protracted study. It's like in some sense with this core, especially with like the little bit of shadow information, I could kind of make up everything else if I really needed to. I couldn't make it up to look exactly like the reference, don't misunderstand me, but I could, almost like I'm just drawing from imagination, I can fill in all the blanks to a level where it's satisfactory for the viewer. Filling in gaps imaginatively. Again, not pretending that I can sort of invent the same level of nuance and surprise as reality from scratch. Just checking a proportion here. Pretty spot on. I'm good with verticals. I'm good at eyeballing verticals. My weakness is eyeballing the horizontal proportions. Like I can see that this lat to here is not wide enough. I always go too skinny. After years of doing this, you find your weak spots. And then that's good because then when you're drawing, you're aware of them, so you always know to be a little more cautious because you know that's the one I always fuck up. But I've just found over the years the verticals, even the really big ones, I've gotten very good at eyeballing them. Often when I check them, they're spot on. But I haven't quite developed that for the horizontals yet. My widths are always off, skinnier than in the reference. Memorp says, yeah, definitely got to get rid of the... Oh, wait, let me... Sometimes, Memorp says, sometimes not even the technical aspects of other work, just the fact that other people are much more consistent than I have been lately. Yes, that's a part of it. Yeah, it goes beyond technicals, like just their prolificness, you know, and all of that is deceptive, you know. So many people on IG are just reposting old work, right? That's totally normalized on IG, and you just don't know it, and you're overreacting to it like they're making 18 things a week, and you're just not aware that it's like, no, they have 30 years of art built up, and they just don't have any shame about reposting old work over and over again. And then Memorp goes on to say, definitely got to get rid of the Instagram app on my phone, YouTube too, just got to reserve all that for my desktop. Yes. I mean, I'm not trying to tell anybody how to live their life, right? But for me personally, and I just feel like for most artists, it is better. Like, I don't keep that shit on my phone. I don't. I mean, and that's my business, you know, and I do have a following on Instagram and things like that. And I just do not keep that shit on my phone. Like I said, I know I have stuff to do on there. It's my business. And even though it's my business, even if I'm in a sale and I'm in a period where I have to post an ad every single day, right? If I got to talk about the sale, share some art every single day just to keep awareness up and things like that, I will install the app for a chosen period of time. I'll say at lunch, 12 o'clock, I will install Instagram, make my posts, and then uninstall it. And the same for any other socials. I just think that is the way better way to do it. I'm biased because I'm a mark. I'm clearly susceptible to it. Maybe there's some people out there who can have Instagram on their phone and just not compulsively use it. I am not one. I'm one of these people that if it's sitting on my phone, I will be living my life and then I will just suddenly realize I am on Instagram. And I don't know how I got here. How did I get here? And they designed, it's not my fault. They designed it that way. They designed it so that you will unconsciously go into your pocket, pull out your phone, unlock it, and open Instagram, hit the button for Instagram before you even realized you have reached into your pocket. They have paid billions of dollars to design that exact loop, and I resent them for it. And I won't let them do it. I won't let them do it to me. We have no idea the violence that these things are doing to us. So, like I said, I'm sure there's lots of people out there who just for some reason that doesn't work on them. I am not one of them. It definitely fucking works on me. So I just have to admit that I'm one of them and not keep it on my phone. And yes, if I only need to post to my timeline, I just do that from desktop. I'll use Instagram on my desktop to do that. But I also make it a point to just not open Instagram on my desktop. Because I find that opens a dangerous door, because then it's sitting, then there's this alternate version of Instagram that's there in the place that I work longer periods. So it's like, I personally would rather have the habit of installing to my phone, doing what I need to do, and then uninstalling, than having the habit of, I could just open another tab and open Instagram. It's like, fuck it. I don't want that. I don't want that there either. You need, in this era where everyone's trying to steal your life and steal your attention and steal your mindfulness and just hijack you, you need hygiene for all that social stuff. I mean, if you're not an artist, you don't need it for work and all that. I'm like, just don't have it. Just don't even get involved. It's like, this stuff is temporary. I really think it'll go away eventually. Better to never engage with it, I say. But if you are an artist and you're going to do that, which I totally get, and God help you if it's part of your business like it is for me, you need good hygiene. You need great hygiene. Like I said, just indicating very flatly and linearly the shadow pattern. And then I can end a study there. It's very simple on this pose because it's very backlit. So most of it's in shadow. And then the rest is just very generalized lighting from ambient light. A25 says, when I complete a new piece of art, I find myself becoming anxious to move on to the next piece because I feel like it has to be better than the one I just made. Do you have any advice to combat this? I think with experience, that'll go away because eventually you'll see that's just not really in your control. It's not up to you if the next one's going to be better than this one. Things go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. Your average just increases over time. Like so much in art, as you get more and more finished pieces under your belt, everything gets easier because you just autobiographically, you just understand like this next one's not a huge deal. If it goes great, it's not the end of the world. If it goes amazing, it's not the last piece I have to make in my practice. It's like, it's okay. You know, whatever way it goes, it's all good. You know, and everybody inevitably starts to feel that way as they, you know, once they've done 1,000 freaking pieces, you know, it's like inevitable. You're just going to have that professional, that classic professional veteran, like, it's all good. We'll take care of it, you know. So you just keep going. That will get easier. Daryl says, your reps show through with that kind of simplification. I like it. Inspires me to do more anatomy studies when my pieces call for it. Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, I've done, this is like this, especially this level right here, I've done, I mean, because this is about the level I can get a sketch to in a medium pose in life drawing. So I've been to a lot of life drawing. So I've just done literally just reps, tens of thousands of these probably, including like in actual life drawing class and then also from photos doing studies. So a lot of reps of that for sure. I like pushing things further than this, but just, you know, by the constraints of space and time, if you go further than this, if you're going to do a long pose, you're only going to get one or two of those in a life drawing session, as opposed to the 20 or so that you might get of a medium pose. Veins, veins, veins. All right, finito. Shadow mapped in. All important things placed, not ignored. Hands, feet. So there's our sketches for the day, our studies. They were fun. They were fun as hell. I did enjoy doing these a lot. And I can tell that they have taught me. They did their job, as they always do. They taught me stuff that I need to bring to my, the actual piece that I'm working on, which I could show you that. The sketch that I'm working on. Well, no, my window share. I could try to pull it up on my iPad real quick. I'm doing a lot of sketches for this piece recently, trying to figure it out, but I'll show you the one that has the sitting pose in it. So here's one of the sketches, and then this is the one that had me interested in the sitting pose. So this is Satan presiding over the Infernal Council for Paradise Lost, a piece I've wanted to do for a long time. And you guys have been, there's other sketches for it out there that I didn't wind up liking, but just that simple thingy there. That was my imaginative sketch, no reference, just working from my head. As usual, it's like, okay, there's the vibe there, but something's missing, right? So this is, like I said, this is what I always advise you guys to do. Your creativity first. Foreground your creativity, foreground your projects, find problem, as you get better and as the years go on, your problems become less devastating, right? It's not like this pose is totally unworkable, but I still know there's insight that I'm lacking, right? You get your problem, and then you say, that will be what I study. So then next session, what do? You study. You study exactly your problem. And then you're not just studying aimlessly. You have a direction. You have a reason to do that. And then when you're done, you don't just have 3 studies that flit out of your mind forever and go in the closet. You have resolved a problem. And you are going to concretize some version of these studies, hopefully, into a finished piece. It may not be exactly one of these, but there will be a Satan sitting on a throne who is in a finished piece that will be with you forever, that is influenced by these things. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jojo. Thanks, Haufen. That's a little, that's end of stream sneak peeks. I hate to spoil a drawing, I can't be spoiling it right at the beginning of stream. I'll only spoil a drawing end of stream for the real fans who are sticking around the whole time. My gut tells me it's going to be something like this. This feels too neutral. This one's my favorite, but I can tell, I'm going to try it, but I can tell I'm going to have a hard time making the perspective work with, you guys saw how pulled back the rest of the scene is. It's going to be tough to integrate this, I think. This is on the longer lens, so it'll work, it'll integrate easier like this one does, but this pose feels more regal and like pondering than this one does. This one feels kind of neutral by comparison. I wonder if I could, something I could try to do is, because I really like this hand interaction with his temple, I wonder if I could find a way to mix this and this. In fact, what I should do is I should look through the rest of the pack and see if there's a reference that is a mix of this and this. Let me make a note to myself. Okay. All right, folks. So we've been on for a little over 3 hours. I'm going to go have some lunch, hug my baby, work on some other things. Like I said, I'm working on a big YouTube video right now. I'm very excited to put it out. Yeah, doing a lot lately in delicious silence. Oh, I relish my days of just sit down 7 hours with just nothing but drawing. No distractions, no music, no podcast, no YouTube, not pulling up anything on my phone, not looking anything up online. Just the project is set. I've got my hit list. 8 hours of just nothing but looking at the art and making the art. It's just, it can't always be that way. Sometimes you have to be researching. You're not set on the project. You've got to design the project first. It's just like, it can't always be that way, but when it is, when it's all locked in, it's all set, you just, oh, damn. It's so good for the heart. It's so good for the heart, you know. Kayeto-san says, man, work on projects sounds kind of abstract, but seeing the actual back and forth on how you work studies makes it way clearer. Yeah. If you stick around on streams, you'll see me do that all the time, but that's it. You know, it's that direct. That's what I mean. You know, it's what I say all the time. Your creativity first, right? Clearly the Paradise Lost piece is a highly creative piece, right? Lead with your creativity. Sketch from imagination, live your dreams, go crazy, right? And then just identify your problems and just do studies based on the problems. And then you saw, this gives me direct next steps. Now I just, you know, I have a study next step, but even if I didn't, I just said, that's it. Now just go and put that guy back in the sketch. And then the loop just repeats over and over and over and over and over again. You know, 30 years later, you've got a career. It's what I say all the time. And it's simple, but it's hard to do. And it's so simple that I think people can't believe that it could really work, but it absolutely works. You know, it's like that old saying, you know, of course the truth is simple. If it was complicated, everyone would understand it. Savior Siantar says, hope everything's well. It is. Just curious about how you started anatomy to be able to apply it seamlessly to your designs. I answered this early on in the stream for somebody else's question, so you might want to watch the VOD and listen to that longer answer. But in short, I've done a lot of anatomy study. How did I start it? I started studying it on my own, and then I got a teacher, the anatomist Ray Bustos. And then I was his teaching assistant. So after I took classes with him, I got to re-listen to all the lectures and keep engaging with it. And you're always a student of anatomy. You know, once you have a foundation, every time you see a figure, you're going to be studying anatomy because you're not going to be confused. You're going to be learning nuance and things like that. So it's a lifelong pursuit. It really is a lifelong pursuit. Thank you, Jojo. Dawn Winchie says, how would you approach the study of an anatomy book like Tom Fox Draws or Michael Hampton? I have not studied either of their books, so I would kind of be talking out of my ass on that. I would assume the book would tell you how to study it. It better. It'd be kind of weird if the anatomy book just showed you a bunch of drawings and didn't tell you how to study. It might be something as simple as them saying, copy every drawing in this book, which is good advice as far as I'm concerned. Gabe Bershon says, how often do you cry? Often enough. Often enough. I'm one of those people who every now and then I'll feel like it's been a while and I'll be like, damn, I could use a good cry, you know, and there's a great release there. I know a lot of people are not like that, but you all know people who are like that, you know. I'm one of those saps. We all know people who are like, I feel like I gotta get it out, man. Like I just feel like blocked up, you know. God, was the last time I cried? I'm one of those people. We all know those people. I'm usually pretty good at getting it out though. But yeah, if it's been a while, I'll feel it. I'll feel it. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Remember the sales until July 6th, and good luck with all of your art. Thanks for being here today while I studied. I had a lot of fun doing these. I will probably go get my phone take a picture of these, install Instagram, post it, and then delete Instagram again. That's hygiene, right? That's how you got to do it. Keep that hygiene good. Take care, everyone. I will be on again soon. Goodbye to Yuntal. Goodbye to Glimmer. Oh, if you're in the United States, happy 4th of July. Happy 250. I hope you have a good weekend and have a good celebration. Goodbye to Crack King. Goodbye to Myth Maniac. Goodbye to Glimmer. Goodbye to Yuntal. Goodbye to Savior Siantar. Goodbye to Hun Snapper. Goodbye to Daryl Grant. Goodbye to Benedict Solbakken. Goodbye to Ednax. Goodbye to Julian Carswell, Knife's Art, Eek001, Let Me Chill, Haufna, Junior Wolf, Kayuto-san, Hun Snapper, Dark Horse, and who could forget, Herarosa. Goodbye, everybody. Take care, and I will see you all soon. Happy drawing.